All right. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and today was an absolutely massive news day for Destiny 2. So many things were covered. If you didn't see my TWAB video, make sure to go watch that before you dive into this, because it might be a little bit confusing. We had a few issues with things that were said in the TWAB, things were worded in a particular way, and this led the community to think that a few exotics might be completely out of control after the changes in the Witch Queen. But we have Bungie community manager DMG actually responding to this on Twitter with this right here, saying a few quick notes on upcoming buffs. Hipfire Grip buffs will not apply to the last word. So obviously, Hipfire Grip is getting a huge buff mentioned in the TWAB, and people are like, there's no mention of the last word getting a nerf at all, and they didn't mention that this doesn't apply to the last words. People are like, wow, the last word is already insane, as we've mentioned before in other videos, and it's about to be God tier, like above S tier weapon, right? Thankfully, that doesn't apply to that, though, so nothing too crazy with the last word. And the second one was 40% PvE damage buff against red bar enemies will not further apply to Vex Mythoclast. This exotic got that buff last season. We're not doubling up. Keep asking questions. We'll hit what we can. So, obviously, 40% damage across the board to PvE combatants, to miners with primary ammo exotics. And that was a really big one. I'm going to pull this up right here as well. DMG tweeted out this saying, Graviton Lance, my love, it's almost your time to shine once more. So Pulse Rifle's getting a 10% buff, plus Graviton Lance shooting primary ammo as an exotic equals a double buff for Graviton Lance, and it has those explosions, which would also get buffed by that, which would be really crazy. So let's go ahead and pull up this right here, so that way we can link all of this together, and I'm going to bring you a top 10 list of weapons that I think are going to be absolutely amazing in the Witch Queen. Exotic primary weapons and trace rifles aren't sufficiently stronger. Now keep that in mind, it's exotic primary weapons and trace rifles aren't sufficiently stronger than legendaries for them to be worth bringing into hard PvE content, i.e. raids, grandmasters, etc. Particularly against miners, so the small enemies, the red bar enemies. Note that this change applies to all exotics that use primary ammo. They're very particular about that, and I'm going to go over one of those exotics in just a moment. And includes most secondary effects, perk-triggered explosions. They were very particular about that wording, so keep that in mind. Two things they were very particular about. Increased damage versus miners in PvE by 40%. Now that is a massive buff to damage for exotic primaries. With that being said, let's go ahead and look at this top 10 list. Ignore my Titan. My Titan is beautiful. I don't want to hear any comments or read any comments dissing my Titan, okay? I made a top 10 list of exotics that I think are going to be really interesting afterwards. First up on the board, the Huckleberry. This thing has already been so good. It's an exotic, and then you can't use an exotic power weapon that's often a lot stronger. But this thing is so beast. If you haven't used this in like the throwaway or strikes or anything, it fires indefinitely. It gets rampage stacks very effortlessly. It's just amazing. This is just an amazing exotic. I love this thing. With this buff, this will probably be the first weapon that I take or try to test out, because I want the Huckleberry to be the meta. I just love the look of it, love Text Mechanica, everything about the Huckleberry. Love it. This might be a really nasty exotic. Also, the Ace of Spades, I know it might be funny, or it almost might be a joke to think of the Ace of Spades being really good in PvE, but the explosive damage will get a 40% buff, so keep that in mind, plus the damage of doing increased damage with Memento Mori. The Ace could be a beast for ad clear. The Ace could be easily one of the better ad clear weapons. Definitely don't laugh at the Ace. You've never really seen this be like a meta weapon for ad clear, but I mean, after all these changes, I can't help but feel like this would be a respectable weapon to try out in the Crucible. Bad Juju, okay? Bad Juju, hear me out. Fires infinitely. All right, I still haven't finished my Callus, gotta work on that. It gives you super energy, fires full auto, and it's gonna give you a damage boost as well. This thing is gonna be nuts. The Bad Juju gets the Pulse Rifle buff, and it gets the Primary Ammo Exotic buff. So the Bad Juju could easily be the best exotic out there for clearing ads and getting crazy fast supers and stuff. So definitely don't laugh at the Bad Juju. The Bad Juju is easily one that's going to be respectable. And then the one they did mention was that the trace rifles in that note, I guess I can't pull that up there because it's on the other scene, but trace rifles were getting a buff with the exotic primary weapon. So the Agriceptor could definitely be a really good exotic afterwards. So keep that in mind. It's already really good, but with certain builds, but it could be even more insane. Moving on to the energy slot, those are the first four. These aren't in any particular order by any means. The Sunshot. The Sunshot has explosive rounds. Sunshot could definitely be decent for ad clear with a 40% damage buff. I mean, overall, we'll see how well these explosion rounds do in clearing ads and stuff, but I think the Sunshot has potential to be really good. Obviously, Graviton Lance, we're going to throw that in there. It gets the 10% pulse rifle buff, the 40% PvE primary ammo buff. The explosions from this are going to be crazy. The explosions have always been really good for this. We'll see how good it is with the Witch Queen. Definitely one to keep your eye on. The Risk Runner has always been a really good weapon for keeping you alive. Now, with a 40% damage to PvE, and you can be able to fire it indefinitely if you're receiving any sort of arc damage, this thing could be nuts. This thing could be absolutely nuts in the Witch Queen. Definitely worth keeping your eye on. Pull one out of collections. Get ready to use that. Again, with the trace rifles, when it comes to good trace rifles in PvE, I've seen the Prometheus lens do some crazy things. With a 40% buff to damage on the Prometheus lens, this thing could be extremely nasty for ad clear in PvE. Next up is my favorite exotic. Okay, this is like, I don't know if I can choose between the Huckleberry or this, but if I had to go into an activity overall, I tend to just pull out the Trinity Ghoul. I think this is probably the strongest ad clear in terms of low end ad clear right now. I do love the Huckleberry. The Huckleberry is my favorite, but I think that this is probably the best for most low end PvE. Now, if this gets a 40% damage buff and actually starts like one hit killing ads, this would be disgustingly good. I mean, if you haven't used Trinity Ghoul, if you don't understand how strong this is, trust me, give Trinity Ghoul a try. It is nasty, nasty, nasty. Next up, the last one we're going to mention, I wanted to throw this in there, even though I know it's a bit of a weird one. The Devil's Ruin uses primary ammo. And one thing that they were particularly wording about with that was they talked about the explosion damage getting the buff, 40% buff, and all of the ones that shoot primary ammo. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, what is this? It has infinite primary ammo, so keep that in mind with the new update. It will have infinite ammo and a 40% buff, and it doesn't shoot like normal sidearms. You're not single firing this. You're shooting this like a freaking laser gun. This could absolutely mow through ads. I mean, this might be the weapon, because it would be so fun to see if this was the weapon, because it would throw people off quite a bit. And I feel like some people watching this video will be like, Lucky, you're insane for thinking the Devil's Ruin is the ad clear meta weapon. But I'm telling you right now, there is some serious potential for the Devil's Ruin. Mark this video, and let's see. We'll come back to this video after the Witch Queen, a month after the Witch Queen, and we'll see if I was right about any of my predictions of these 10 exotics being absolutely insane inside PvE. Let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think? Which exotics? And did I miss any that you think could be really good? I was going to throw a few others in here, but I wanted to keep it to just 10, okay? Because I don't want to, go over 18 different exotics. These are the 10 exotics that I had to pick from my collections, and I have all of them, obviously. These are the 10 that I thought would be the absolute best. But if you think I'm missing some, definitely comment down below, and make sure you guys and gals out there upvote those comments, because if I missed one or overlooked one that would actually be really crazy, let me know. I think I got a pretty good list here overall, and that's going to be a wrap on this video. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy. Smash the like button. I'll be keeping you up to date on all the news in the Witch Queen, so if you're subscribed with notifications on, you're not going to miss out on anything. You have nothing to worry about. Everything will be covered on this channel. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be a good time. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Later.